Ever feel like you're invisible in conversations? You say something important, but people talk over you. You share an idea, but no one reacts until someone else repeats it, and suddenly it's genius. It's frustrating, right? You're not alone. The truth is, being articulate isn't just about what you say, it's about how you say it. And if you don't know how to express yourself in a way that grabs attention, people will tune you out. It's not personal, it's just how the world works. Think about the most respected, influential people. They don't necessarily have the best ideas, but they know how to deliver them. Their words flow smoothly. They sound confident. They make you stop and listen. And the best part? This isn't a talent you're born with. It's a skill you can learn. So, if you've ever felt unheard, misunderstood, or overlooked, stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to speak in a way that commands attention, earns respect, and makes people actually care about what you say. And trust me, once you master this, your life will never be the same. Now, let's get into it. Chapter 1. The Pain of Being Misunderstood. Ever had a moment where you said something and the room just went silent? Not in a good way. More like that awkward pause where people exchange glances, trying to figure out what you meant. Maybe you stumbled over your words. Maybe what made sense in your head came out as a tangled mess. And maybe, just maybe, you felt like an absolute fool afterward. It's frustrating, isn't it? You know what you want to say, but somewhere between your brain and your mouth, the words just refuse to cooperate. The worst part? People judge you for it. Whether it's at work, in social situations, or even with friends. If you don't sound clear, confident, and persuasive, you're ignored, overlooked, even dismissed. Articulation isn't just about talking, it's about being heard. And if you don't master it, you'll keep getting interrupted, misunderstood, or worse, completely forgotten. Think about the most powerful speakers. They don't just say words, they own the room. They command attention, hold people's focus, and make their message unforgettable. That could be you. In fact, it should be you. But here's the thing. Articulation isn't about having a perfect vocabulary or a naturally smooth voice. It's a skill. And just like any skill, it can be learned. Right now, your mind is probably saying, "But I've never been good at speaking. I just freeze up." That's normal. But that voice, that hesitation, that's exactly what's holding you back. Here's a little secret. The best speakers in the world weren't born articulate. They became articulate. And you're about to do the same. By the time you finish this, you'll know exactly how to structure your words so that people don't just hear you, they listen. You'll never struggle to express yourself again. But before we dive into techniques, let's talk about what's actually making you struggle in the first place. Chapter 2. Why your words fail you. If articulation is so powerful, why do so many people struggle with it? Why do your thoughts seem crystal clear in your mind, but turn into a mess the second you open your mouth? There are 3 major culprits: mental clutter, lack of structure, and fear. First, mental clutter. You've got a million thoughts racing in your head, all demanding attention at once. Imagine trying to pack for a vacation, but instead of carefully choosing what you need, you just throw everything into your suitcase. That's what happens when you speak without clarity. You're dumping too many ideas at once, and your listener has no idea what to focus on. Ever start explaining something, and halfway through, you realize you're not even sure what point you were trying to make? That's mental clutter at work. The solution? You need to train your brain to slow down and organize thoughts before you speak. Second, lack of structure. Most people talk in fragments. A thought here, an idea there, a random fact thrown in for good measure. The result? A confusing mess that leaves people scratching their heads. The most powerful speakers follow a simple formula: a clear opening, a strong middle, and a memorable close. Without structure, your words lose impact. Finally, The biggest killer of articulation? Fear. It's the invisible hand that squeezes your throat and makes your mind go blank. Fear of sounding stupid. Fear of getting judged. Fear of messing up. And guess what? That fear causes you to mess up. It's like trying to text while walking on a tightrope. Your brain is so focused on not falling that you forget how to balance. But here's the fun part. Fear is a liar. It tells you that you can't, when in reality, you absolutely can. The key is rewiring your brain to respond differently in high-pressure moments. The more you practice, the less fear controls you. So how do you cut through the clutter? Structure your thoughts and silence fear. That's exactly what we'll break down next. But before we do, let me ask you this. Have you ever heard someone speak so clearly, so effortlessly, that you couldn't help but hang on to every word? That's what we're about to turn you into. Chapter 3. The Secret to Thinking Fast and Clearly. Let's talk about speed. Ever had a moment where someone asks you a question and your brain goes into full panic mode? Your mind knows the answer, but instead of words coming out, all you get is a long, awkward pause, or worse, a jumbled, half-baked response that even you don't understand. That's because your brain isn't trained to think and speak at the same time. The trick to sounding articulate isn't about slowing down your speech, it's about speeding up your thinking. And the way to do that is by training your mind to process ideas in real time. Here's how you do it. The pause principle. Most people think they need to fill every silence, so they rush their words, trip over sentences, and end up sounding less confident. But great speakers? They master the pause. They use it to buy time, to process, to command attention. Think of it like chess. A beginner moves pieces quickly, reacting without thinking. A master, on the other hand, takes their time, planning several moves ahead. When you pause, even for a second, you're giving your brain a chance to catch up, which means your words will come out sharper, clearer, and with more impact. Another trick? The paraphrase method. Instead of scrambling for the perfect words, repeat the question in your own words before answering. This gives you an extra few seconds to think and makes you sound more thoughtful. For example, if someone asks, "What's your take on this project?" Instead of jumping straight into an answer, you could say, "You're asking about my perspective on the project's direction. Here's what I think." That tiny shift makes all the difference. It resets your mind, creates clarity, and shows confidence. But what if your mind still goes blank? Here's a little hack. Stall smartly. Instead of saying, or "I don't know," try, "That's a great question. Let me think about that for a second. I want to give you a solid answer. Give me a moment to process this." These phrases buy you time while making you sound more articulate, not less. Now, let's test something. Imagine you're in a conversation and someone says something that completely throws you off. Instead of freezing up, what if you could smoothly redirect the conversation, regain control, and leave people thinking, "Wow, they're sharp." That's what we're covering next. You won't just learn to speak clearly. You'll learn to own every conversation you step into. Chapter 4. How to never get lost in a conversation again. You know that sinking feeling when you're in the middle of explaining something and suddenly your mind just blanks? Your words slow down, your confidence plummets, and worst of all, you can see the other person losing interest. It's like your brain has suddenly pulled the emergency brakes, leaving you stranded mid-sentence. Happens to everyone, right? But the difference between an average speaker and an articulate one isn't about avoiding these moments. It's about recovering from them seamlessly. The trick? Bridging phrases. Think of them like stepping stones. Instead of letting your sentence crash and burn, you use a bridge to guide yourself and your listener back on track. Here's an example. Let's say you're explaining a complex idea, but halfway through you realize you've lost your train of thought. Instead of freezing, say, "To put it another way." The key point I want to make is, what I mean is, these simple phrases buy you time while making you sound even more confident, because instead of showing hesitation, you sound like you're refining your point. But what if someone interrupts you before you can even finish your thought? That's when you need verbal redirection. Instead of letting someone derail you, take control with a firm yet polite response like, "Hold on, I want to finish this thought real quick." That's a great point. I'll circle back to that in a second. Now, here's where it gets fun. Imagine you're debating with someone and they throw a curveball question at you. Your instinct might be to panic, but instead, you can flip the script by answering with another question. Example? Them. "Why do you think this approach works better?" You. "Great question. But first, let me ask, what's your current approach?" This instantly shifts the focus, giving you more time to think and keeping the conversation in your control. Speaking isn't about knowing exactly what to say every second. It's about knowing how to navigate when you don't. And in the next chapter, you'll learn the secret weapon that makes even average speakers sound brilliant. Chapter 5. The Power of Vocal Delivery. Let's be real. Most people don't remember every single word someone says. But you know what they do remember? The way they said it. Think about some of the most captivating speakers. It's not just their words, it's their voice, the pauses, the shifts in tone, the way they emphasize key points. That's what makes them unforgettable. And if you think you need a deep, booming voice to sound articulate, think again. Your natural voice is already enough. You just need to learn how to use it strategically. The biggest mistake people make? Speaking in a flat, one-note tone. It doesn't matter how brilliant your words are. If you sound bored, your audience will be too. The fix? Vocal inflection. Try this. The next time you make a key point, drop your voice slightly. This makes people lean in, like you're letting them in on a secret. Then, when you're emphasizing something exciting, raise your energy. Not by shouting, but by injecting natural enthusiasm into your tone. Another powerful trick? Pacing. Most people talk too fast when they're nervous, making their words run together. But have you noticed that the most confident speakers actually slow down? That's because pausing between phrases creates impact. It lets your words sink in. Test it out. Read this sentence in a rushed voice. The most important thing you can do is control your tone. Now, try it again with pauses. The most important thing, all you can do, is control your tone. Feel the difference? That pause commands attention. It turns a simple sentence into something memorable. But what about nervous habits like filler words? Those little words that sneak into every sentence. Here's the truth. You don't have to eliminate them completely. You just need to replace them with silence. Instead of saying, "I think, this is a good approach because, it really helps," try, "I think this is a good approach. It really helps." That silence is powerful. It makes you sound intentional instead of hesitant. So now that you know how to sound articulate, the next step is making sure your words actually stick with people. And in the next chapter, you'll learn the secret to speaking in a way that makes people remember you forever. Chapter 6. The Art of Making People Remember Your Words. Ever notice how some people can say one sentence and it stays with you for years? While others talk for hours and you forget everything they said 5 minutes later? That's not an accident. It's a skill. The key to making your words stick is something called linguistic imprinting. Basically, using techniques that make your ideas easy to remember and hard to ignore. The first trick: speak in pictures. The human brain loves images. If you just throw out facts, people forget. But if you wrap those facts in a vivid image, people remember. Example: instead of saying, "Confidence is important for success," say, "Confidence is like a key. Without it, you're locked out of opportunities." That image instantly makes the idea stick. The second trick? The rule of 3. People remember things better in groups of 3. That's why so many famous phrases use it. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Stop, drop, and roll. Just do it. Try it in your own speech. Instead of saying, "This idea is helpful," say, "This idea is powerful, practical, and proven." See how much stronger that sounds? But here's the real game changer. Emotional hooks. People don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. If you want your words to stay with someone, trigger an emotion. For example, instead of saying, "If you don't improve your communication, it could hurt your career," say, "Every time you struggle to express yourself, you're losing opportunities that could change your life." Feel the difference? One is just a fact. The other hits home. And now that you know how to make your words stick, the next question is, how do you use this skill to own any conversation, even when the stakes are high? That's exactly what we're diving into next. Chapter 7. How to stay cool under pressure. Ever been in a situation where your brain knows exactly what to say, but your mouth just refuses to cooperate? Maybe your palms get sweaty, your voice starts shaking, or worse, you freeze completely. It's like your mind is a high-performance sports car, but the second you need it, the engine stalls. Here's the truth. Being articulate isn't just about what you say. It's about how well you say it under pressure. Because, let's be real, anyone can sound smart when they're relaxed. But the real challenge? Staying articulate when the heat is on. So how do you stop your nerves from hijacking your ability to speak? The first step, control your breath. Ever notice how confident speakers never sound like they're gasping for air? That's because they breathe deeply and intentionally before speaking. When you're nervous, your breathing gets shallow, which makes your voice shaky. The fix? Take one slow, deep breath before you start talking. It calms your nervous system instantly. The second trick? Slow down. When you're under pressure, your brain speeds up, but your words don't have to. If you feel like your heart is racing, deliberately slow your speech by just 10%. It makes you sound more confident, more in control, and more powerful, even if you're freaking out inside. But what if your mind goes blank? Here's a secret. Paraphrase your last point. Instead of panicking, repeat the last thing you said in a slightly different way. It gives your brain a few seconds to catch up. Example, if you were saying, "This strategy is effective because it simplifies the process," and you suddenly forget your next thought, just say, "In other words, the reason this works so well is that it cuts through the noise and makes things clear." Boom, your brain gets a breather, and you still sound smooth. And if someone throws a tough question at you, don't rush to answer. Confident speakers pause before responding. A 2-second pause feels natural and makes you seem thoughtful, rather than flustered. The bottom line? Staying articulate under pressure isn't about never getting nervous. It's about knowing how to handle it so no one notices. And in the next chapter, we'll unlock the secret to making every conversation feel effortless. Chapter 8. How to keep a conversation flowing. We've all been there. You're in a conversation, and suddenly, awkward silence. The energy drops. You don't know what to say next, and both of you are just waiting for the other person to fill the gap. Or maybe you're stuck talking to someone who gives one-word answers. You ask, "How's your day?" and they hit you with a "good." Now what? Most people panic and start rambling, hoping to fill the silence. But articulate speakers, they know how to keep the conversation alive without forcing it. The first trick? Use open-ended questions. Instead of asking something that can be answered with yes or no, ask something that invites a real answer. Instead of, "Did you like the movie?" Yes, no, dead end. Try, "What was the most surprising part of the movie for you?" Now they have to think and respond. And what if you're talking to someone who's just dry? Use the echo technique. Repeat the last few words they said with an upward inflection, like a question. Example: them. Work's been busy. You. Busy? What's been keeping you on your toes? Now, instead of a dead end, you've nudged them into sharing more. Another game-changing move? Make people feel interesting. The secret to being a great conversationalist isn't talking more. It's making the other person feel like they're fascinating. The easiest way to do that? Drop the classic line, "Wow, that's interesting. Tell me more about that." It works because it triggers a deep psychological need. People love feeling heard. But what if someone is being difficult, dismissive, or just plain rude? That's when you use verbal judo, responding in a way that keeps you in control. Example: someone, "That idea sounds stupid." You, "Interesting. What makes you say that?" This flips the script. Instead of reacting emotionally, you put the pressure back on them to explain themselves without sounding defensive. Great conversations aren't about having perfect words scripted in your head. They're about knowing how to steer the dialogue in any situation. And next, we'll dive into the ultimate trick that makes any speaker sound naturally articulate. Chapter 9: How to sound instantly smarter without using big words. Let's get something straight. Being articulate doesn't mean stuffing your sentences with fancy words that no one actually uses. In fact, the smartest people say complex things in the simplest way possible. Think about the greatest communicators: Steve Jobs, Oprah, Obama. They don't use complicated jargon to sound intelligent. They use clarity, confidence, and rhythm to make their words hit home. So how do you sound instantly sharper without trying too hard? First, cut the fluff. Weak speakers use filler phrases like, "In my opinion, I just think that maybe." Basically, what I'm trying to say is, confident speakers, they get straight to the point. "Here's what I believe." This is the key takeaway. Notice how much stronger that sounds? Next, use powerful sentence structure. Instead of saying, "This is something that can really help you improve over time," say, "This will transform the way you improve." Shorter, sharper, stronger. And what about using big words? Here's a reality check. Throwing in long, complicated words doesn't make you sound smart. It makes you sound like you're trying to sound smart. Example: instead of, "I am endeavoring to ascertain a resolution to this predicament," say, "I'm figuring out a solution." Same meaning. One sounds natural, the other sounds like you swallowed a thesaurus. But here's the real key. Speak like you write, and write like you speak. Most people speak in a jumbled, unclear way because they don't think about their words before saying them. The best way to fix this? Write down your thoughts daily. Even if it's just a few sentences, it trains your brain to form clear, structured ideas. And the best part? Once you master this, people won't just hear what you say. They'll actually remember it. Now that you know how to sound sharper instantly, the next step is unlocking the power of storytelling. Because the best speakers don't just give information. They create experiences that people can't forget. Chapter 10: The Power of Storytelling. Ever noticed how some people can talk for hours and you're glued to every word? They're not just talking, they're telling a story. Whether it's a TED speaker, a viral YouTuber, or a charismatic friend, their secret isn't just knowledge. It's the ability to make words come alive. Great storytelling isn't just for movies or books. It's the most powerful way to capture attention, build emotional connection, and make your message unforgettable. People don't remember facts. They remember stories that made them feel something. A great story doesn't need to be long or complex. It just needs 3 things: a setup, a struggle, and a resolution. Every story should start with a relatable moment or a challenge that instantly grabs attention. It could be a personal failure, a shocking realization, or an unexpected problem. The more tension you create, the more engaged your listener becomes. Once you have the setup, the struggle keeps people hooked. This is where emotions come in. Whether it's frustration, excitement, or fear, people need to feel the stakes. If nothing is at risk, the story falls flat. Finally, the resolution delivers the punchline, the lesson, or the breakthrough moment that makes everything worthwhile. The beauty of storytelling is that it works in any situation. If you're explaining an idea in a meeting, instead of dumping facts, start with, "Let me tell you about a time when this happened." Instantly, people lean in. If you're in a conversation, instead of giving a dull answer, bring up a quick, engaging story that makes your point naturally. The most articulate people don't just inform, they entertain. They make people feel. And when you master this, your words will have a lasting impact. But to take it even further, you need to master the power of tone, because even the best words fall flat if your voice doesn't match them. Chapter 11. Mastering your tone. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Ever heard someone say something important, but it sounded so flat and robotic that you tuned out? On the flip side, ever listened to someone whose voice made even the simplest sentence sound exciting? That's the magic of tone. The right tone can make you sound confident, engaging, and persuasive. The wrong tone can make even the smartest words sound dull. If you want people to actually listen to you, your voice needs variation, rhythm, and intentional pauses. Speaking in a monotone is the fastest way to lose attention. To fix this, start playing with volume and pitch. When you're making a strong point, slightly lower your voice and slow down. It signals importance. When telling a story or building excitement, let your pitch rise naturally, adding energy to your words. Pauses are another powerful tool. Instead of rushing through sentences, pause right before or after keywords to create impact. This not only keeps people engaged, but makes your message more memorable. The best speakers know that silence can be just as powerful as words. Your tone should also match your message. If you're sharing an inspiring idea, let your voice reflect that excitement. If you're explaining something serious, let your tone carry weight. Too many people sound disconnected from their own words because they don't let their emotions show in their voice. Being articulate isn't just about choosing the right words. It's about delivering them in a way that makes people feel something. And when you master this, your ability to influence, persuade, and connect skyrockets. But there's one more key that separates the truly powerful speakers from the rest: the ability to read the room and adapt in real time. Conclusion: the way you speak has the power to change everything. How people perceive you, how much they respect you, and even the opportunities that come your way. Articulation isn't just about sounding smart. It's about making people feel something when you speak. It's about making sure your words aren't just heard, but remembered. By now, you've unlocked the secrets of powerful communication: how to control your words, tone, and delivery, how to tell captivating stories, how to adapt in real time, and how to keep people engaged until the very last word. These are the skills that separate the forgettable from the unforgettable. But here's the real challenge: what will you do with this knowledge? You don't need to be born with natural charisma to be an incredible speaker. You don't need a degree in communication to be someone people actually listen to. All it takes is practice and the willingness to apply what you've learned. Because the people who master their words, they master their lives. Now, imagine walking into any conversation, meeting, or social event, knowing that your words will land exactly as you intend. Imagine never feeling misunderstood or overlooked again. That's the power you hold in your hands right now. So, don't just think about becoming more articulate. Start practicing today. Watch your tone, shape your stories, read the room, and refine your delivery. The more you do it, the more natural it will become. And if you found this guide valuable, make sure to check out our next video on how to command respect with just your voice. Because articulation is just the beginning of unlocking your full potential.